stepped away for a hot second. I'm back.
So, as we start this new campaign, we've had a couple conversations in session zero, making references to the urban nature of the campaign. It is going to be slightly different. I would like to reiterate a couple things to the party. One, consequences of actions are going to be more um, intense, more localized, more longevitous, meaning killing a person on the side of the road, stealing their cart, robbing a person on the side of the road, even if you don't kill them between towns, could you get in trouble? Yes, possibly. Doing it in a city in which you live and operate is a whole different ball game. So bear that in mind. The consequences of your actions will be more localized. In addition to that, it is also worth making mention of the fact that the Neverwinter is a story that is a city that has a lot for people who are up and coming. So there is a great amount of potential. We have all the characters checked and everything like that. So we have no issue there. The Neverwinter campaign that I've been writing, well, let me rephrase that. The Neverwinter city that I've been fleshing out will continue to grow. It isn't completely done because I can only do so much, but it is very well fleshed out. There's going to be more role playing than in most campaigns. Typically, the balance I aim for in the standard campaign is roughly 60-40 to 70-30. That being uh, the role playing is about 30 to 40% of the campaign. The other half being, combat exploration, things like that. That 70 or 60% is makes up both combat exploration, things like that. This campaign is going to be about half and half. A lot of the things you're going to be attempting to accomplish will not be able to be accomplished via violence very easily. You can probably get the first quest done with violence, but there probably won't be a second quest. That being said, it is worthwhile for the party to be more cognizant of this, who's speaking for the party, and if you're feeling particularly feisty as a player, fuck around and find out is real. Probably, you might not want to be the one to talk that day if you feel like just causing chaos and burning shit down, because there are other people. So, those are some general statements. Uh, as per the house rule, if you don't have inspiration, give yourself inspiration at the start of every game, and I will remind you, you do not have to use it this game. But if you don't, it will stack. You can only hold three. After you three games, if you're not using inspiration, then it's going to start wasting. The reason why it doesn't expire is because those there are going to be times when you may not make many rolls in a game. So before I go to the next part, does anybody have any questions? Oh, I'll take the silence as a no. I'm going to do a little bit of background that all characters will either know or be aware of. And this is going to be essentially a very abridged common knowledge history of Neverwinter in terms of uh, what's going on and where it's from. But before I do that, I'm going to share the map. My advice to you is to take this map. Let's see. Take the map, use that dragon at the very top left corner, drag it down to one of your hotbars where you can access it. It's gonna be relatively useful in most instances. I don't know how you guys can mark it, if you can mark it in any way. I'm still looking into that. So for Neverwinter, there are two general Uh, Things to know about Neverwinter. It is a city that was devastated roughly 5 decades ago. So this river that you see running down the dead center of the actual city, that is something that is going to feature heavily because Neverwinter is known as the city of skilled hands. And it is known thusly because Neverwinter is in the north of Faerun. It's near Luskan, which is um, a city that is very often frozen, harbored. Waterdeep is as well, but it's called Neverwinter, potentially because of two things. The two hypothetical reasons that people talk about on the streets for the name is a sun elf who settled the city, whose name was Lord Never, and he supposedly uh, fought a battle here 1500, 2000 years ago, and he was supposed to lose the battle. He was outnumbered, and it was called Never's Winter. The other hypothetical reason is because that river flows out of a volcano, Mount Hotenow. Some people say it's powered by a powerful elemental and this and that. And the some people just say it comes from a volcano. Regardless, what it does is that river is perpetually non-frozen, even in the depths of winter, because the water is warm from that volcano. So as it flows down, it continuously provides ambient heat. For that reason, Neverwinter has been in the past and is still a city of gardeners, botanists, flower growing the tree. And if you look at this map, you will notice the streets are lined with trees. Those aren't just random trees. Many of them are beautiful trees, but also many of them are fruit bearing trees. So the people of Neverwinter frequently are able to simply walk along and grab food, even the homeless. But that is why it is called the city of skilled hands, because they are capable of keeping the vegetation blooming even in the depths of winter when Luskin, not very far to the north, cannot even have ships sail into their harbor. The other advantage to that water is that as that Lake Neverwinter dumps into the uh, Sword Coast Sea, it keeps the bay from freezing as well. So it is a permanent deep water port that ships can harbor in regardless of what time of year. And in the north, when things freeze, that is an incredible economic boon. So that's kind of the generic history to start there before we go too much further. Um, some there's a lot of opinions about the past, things like that. A lot of it's lost to history. What you have heard or you are aware of that average people talk about, and that is roughly 150 years ago, a man named Nasher Alagondar. You don't have to memorize any of this. This is background for your characters that they would know. And if it comes back up and you can't remember it, I will tell you. So it's not something you need to write down. You're welcome to write it down. Roughly 150 years ago, Nasher Alagondar became king of Neverwinter. He ruled roughly 50 years, and he uh, built or grew the city. He was a very, very popular king, and he founded a dynasty, the Alagondar
Sorry.
dynasty. The Alagondar dynasty ruled for roughly 100 years, which for Neverwinter was pretty monumentous. There's been numerous catastrophes over the last 150 years. The one that killed Nasher Alagondar was called the Wailing Death. We're not going to go into super depth about that because I don't want to use our entire game time monologuing. But he was wiped out, started his dynasty, ruled for 50 years, basically made the city what it is. It is a dynasty that most of the people look up to with almost legendary status. The Alagondar family is very King Arthurish looked at. Um, so there was a quite a few things that took place. I'm going to make a mark on the map that I about something I'm going to mention because it matters. So this area where you see these tents, roughly 100 years ago, 110, 15 years ago, there was an attack uh, from the Shadravar. Those are the shades that came back from the Nethranese Empire, and essentially they had tried to conquer the city. They failed to conquer the city. What no one knew was it was a distraction from some of the agents of Shar, and this is kind of legend. And they planted a supposedly a seed of the far realm for all the evil things underneath the city. Well, 10 years later, a well known event known as the Spell Plague or the Year of Blue Fire swept across the entire planet, killing most spellcasters in the entire planet, or at least everywhere everyone here has ever heard of, or anybody you've ever talked to has ever heard of. So when that happened, a number of things happened. Number one, the supposed seed that was planted by the Shadravar and the followers of Shar erupted in a chasm all the way through Neverwinter along that line. And things just began pouring out. What that caused is this whole section of the city right here was essentially abandoned. The graveyard, everybody was killed, basically, who lived here, and then they rose as undead. This was, again, roughly 100 years ago. In addition to that, um, a couple things happened. I'm going to point them out on the map. I'm sure you guys have it zoomed out. If you don't, you might want to. Some things that happened was you see these three islands right here.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, during the spell plague, those are not floating in the ocean. Those became floating earth moats that lifted from the seafloor. So those are, and um, that's one of the things. There's a number of other things that happened, not the least of which the graveyard became flooded with undead. Lots of things happened. Those are just some good examples. So the spell plague was not kind to Neverwinter. Fast forward roughly 30 years, which as of this is about the time it starts to come into more recent memory. This is 40 years ago. Supposedly, an adventuring party discovered an ancient dwarven kingdom called Gauntlegrim,
Oh, hey, I
and
remember that name. So, sorry.
supposedly the uh, primordial that lived in the volcano, and a lot of people don't believe that is an actual thing, caused the volcano to erupt. Regardless if it was a primordial or a natural event, the volcano erupted, widening the chasm in Neverwinter. More monsters came out, but this is again roughly 40 years ago. This erupting volcano caused earthquakes that collapsed Castle Never, wiping out the entire Alagondar line. There was no survivors. There is no Alagondar line left. Um, and it's simply referred to in the city as the cataclysm, the wiping out of the royal family. The chasm burst open, monsters, undead. So essentially, at that time, what the people did is they just abandoned the city. The city was almost completely abandoned. Um, so about 30 years ago, after the city was almost completely abandoned, a man named Dagult Neverember, I'm going to put his name in here because it matters. a noble who was apparently in the nobility of Waterdeep came down from Waterdeep, used his fortune to hire mercenaries from Mintaran, which is a place, an island nearby. Um, hired hundreds of mercenaries, and he brought the mercenaries to Neverwinter, and he's declared the new Neverwinter movement about 30 years ago. And essentially, he uh, fought back a great deal of the to retake the city. Some things that I didn't mention that, for example, over here, that this tower, which was a wizard's academy, had been taken over by orcs while it was abandoned. They retook that back. They pushed the undead all the way back into the graveyard and built a whole wall around it. They actually built a wall around two graveyards. One is the aristocracy's graveyard, and the other is the paupers' graveyard. But the undead are essentially contained and guarded. So there's an undead. Uh, I don't want to say there's an undead uh, reservation, I suppose, for lack of a better word, in the middle of the city. And they continued to push back and push back.
Mm.
And Dagult Never Ember declared himself the bastard son of a line that started with the original King Nasher Alagondar. He doesn't claim the name Alagondar, but he claims to be the heir of Nasher Alagandar's throne. So he's been using these mercenaries for roughly 30 years to push back and retake the city. He took the entire north half on the north side of the river. The city has been completely reclaimed. The entire south half, not counting the graveyards, have been reclaimed. The city is now finally reclaimed entirely. It is being repopulated. The city is safe-ish. The outer wall on the north side has been completely rebuilt. Parts of the castle have been rebuilt, but maybe only 10%. The outer wall on the south side of the river has roughly 80% rebuilt. So most of the people, except Lord Neverember as the leader of the city, whether or not they call him king or most call him Lord Neverember, he's considered the leader of the city. Even if they don't believe, some believe he is the actual heir to the Alagondar throne, some don't, but they don't really give a shit because he has been rebuilding the city for 30 years. He's been pushing back the monsters, pushing back the brigands, pushing back the bandits, pushing back the orcs, giving people back their home. He cracked down hard on the guilds who had been exploiting people. He raised taxes on the nobles to fund the rebuilding of the city. And so people are coming back, and even that if they're not super happy about it, or if they don't believe it, they've accepted him. But not everybody has. Two main factions originally arose to oppose him. They were the Sons of Alagondar, in an umbrella term, the Nashers, named after Nasher Alagondar, and the Greycloaks. The Nashers were originally more like a violent revolutionary, taking sabotage and violence to oppose Dagult Neverember. And the Greycloaks were kind of subterfuge, politics, things like that. But as he invested more and more money, more and more time, more and more blood, the people simply stopped supporting revolutions against him. They've tried. A number of things have happened to help him. Uh, so a couple things. I mean, there's whispers that anytime an heir comes about, he just bribes them or kills them. No one knows if it's true or things spread by the Grey Cloaks. So, a couple points in this last few minutes of this history lesson. Some things that have happened within the last 10 years that are very recent history. Priestesses and priests of Selûne returned to the city in force, bringing with them uh, sh- uh, the shards of the moon, allowing a high priestess, Lady Jasmine, and other Selûnites to cleanse a shard of Shar that had been essentially put over the city long ago, that had helped, corrupted it. Um, and they restored an uh, floating tower, the crystalline tower that had existed here for a long time, that had been corrupted to the Shard of Night by Shar followers. Selûnites returned to the city, cleansed the Shard of Night back to the Shard of the Moon, and established a temple, a not like a small temple, a huge temple of Selûne in the city. There are pictures of it. I'm going to share one now. I'm not going to share it long term, but you can see off to the right. Well, I don't want to flood with images, but that's the level of grandiose we're talking. So that's why it's such a uh, worth mentioning thing. That was 10 years ago. Also, 10 years
What?
ago, a power. What's that?
Is it here?
No, that's actually Castle Never. Uh,
Yeah, I assumed it was like
the sh-
right up here.
Correct. That's exactly where it's at. That's the Shard of the Moon.
Very
I
cool.
was gonna, I
Okay.
was gonna ask you
Huge
about
temple.
that because I saw that kind of like floating in the air on the map, and I'm like,
Correct.
oh, oh, what is that? So I kind of made the assumption, but I wasn't gonna say anything before I asked. So
So I am going to kind of go around and show you where a bunch of stuff is. I'm not going to require you to remember it, but it's going to be worth it. Um, so two more points of note. Number same year as the Selûnites returned to the city, a war wizard, an adventurer from Cormair, who had retired, um, caused a sizable portion of Neverwinter's population to come down with a madness. Who he was trying to free his wife from some internal cult that had been going on. You don't know all the details, but Lord Neverember responded quickly and crushed them and rescued the people. It resulted in a huge conflict on the docks with demons and cultists and the constables. So that was one thing that the people were very happy about. Roughly, I said 10 years. I apologize. I'm a couple years off. Uh, that was 15 years ago. So 10 years ago, the chasm was sealed. That big crack in the middle of Neverwinter. It was supposedly it cost mountains of gold and rivers of blood. And he was able to seal it, and that's why you see tents there, not buildings. Those are some of the things that happened most recently. Those are things. So it's been roughly, since that was sealed, it's been roughly a decade. There are rumors around that Lord Neverember has also been secretly operating as the Mist Lord of Waterdeep. And he was supposedly rumors that he was kicked out of that role so that he voluntarily so he could focus on continuing to rebuild Neverwinter, but those are just rumors. The last thing of note is that in the last 2 years, the people have begun, now that the city is established, chafing at mercenaries enforcing their laws. So slowly, Lord Neverember is dismissing the mercenaries and phasing them out as he phases in a new constabulary force made of and trained by the citizens of Neverwinter. I'm going to stop there before I go around the whole map. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I'm good.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay. So I'm going to click a couple things around the city to tell you about them. We already talked about the Shard of the Moon, the Temple of Selûne. There is a large lake that was known as the Black. It was called the Blue Lake originally before all the troubles over the last century. It became known as the Black Lake because it was so contaminated. One of Lord Neverember's major projects was to dredge it, clean it, and it is now called the Blue Lake again. Pardon me. Castle Neverember. Obviously, the three bridges, the only three ways across the city. They have names. They're very, 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 very ornate. These are the graveyards, obviously. The chasm we talked about. There are a number of shops around town. I'm not going to click on all of them. Some points that are of interest. This is the House of Knowledge. It is a temple of Agma, as well as other gods of knowledge, but it is also a massive library. You have a couple of taverns all around town. Not going to click on all of them. The Hall of Justice, which is essentially run by more of the Temple of Tyr, Temple of Torm, Justice originated faiths. You have and the three floating islands here, here, and here. I'm not going to go into super details. Those are things we're going to cover as we go. So
Those are still floating?
yes, they
Oh.
never sunk. So couple things. If you zoom in really close on the islands are they. It's important to note these islands didn't just float 100 feet or 10 feet in the air and just go, this is a cool place to stop. These islands are chained.
Oh, that's what
To
those. For some reason, I thought those were like fishing lines. I don't know why.
So there's a lot here. Like I could monologue for hours and hours and hours. I'm not going to because learning it over time, but that's what you need to start the game. That's basic information, things like that. There's lots going on. So most of you got back to me when I asked for a choice of, of hooks. Can anybody who didn't refresh my memory in terms of hooks? You had two choices in terms of alignment-based hooks. I think there was a neutral good and a true neutral or chaotic neutral.
Second.
Yeah, I don't think I did, but I'll go.
You gave us a neutral good or a chaotic or true neutral. So, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I mean, neutral good's fine with me.
Okay. No, like it's not. There's no evil hook because you guys stated you wanted to lean towards the good side.
Yep, makes sense.
What were
I
you?
I don't know if it matters too much, I guess, but I would say my vote would be for the chaotic good one. But
No, each person gets to pick for themselves.
well, then chaotic
Oh.
would be my hook.
Well, I mean, we already talked about my hook.
Yeah. I'm just saying if anybody had anything they didn't, because I not everybody reached out to me. Tyler, what were you saying? You got interrupted.
I figured I'd just go neutral good.
Okay. I think Tanner, you said neutral good.
Yep.
Malachi, I don't remember what you said.
I don't believe I did. I'll go neutral good too, though. I think that makes the most sense. Whatever that may entail.
You said neutral good as well. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so the whole party is affiliated with neutral good. So we're all starting at the same place. So we are going to start. I'm not going to tie you together myself. The whole party is going to start essentially at the same place. This is where your backgrounds will end. Some people gave me backgrounds. That's fantastic. I by no means require it to be published right now. What is important is the entire party is going to be starting in the House of Knowledge. They're going to be in a meeting, which I will describe in a minute. Now, if you guys later decide, hey, we want to, I want to know these people want to kind of start together, perfectly cool with that. Doesn't need to be answered today. For now, let me delete this snake I was using for testing. So I'm going to share a map after I put your tokens on here. So everybody's going to be started. I'm going to explain the hook and we will all get to go. So I'm not going to emphasize too much about who knows who, because that's up to you guys. If you guys want to, between next game and this game, say, oh, we knew each other, etc., etc. I'm not worried about it. So here is your map. You are in the House of Knowledge. You have been. That should have been zoomed in. I hope that it still is. Was it zoomed in?
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Yep.
I thought it wasn't, then I zoomed out. And it definitely was.
So I'm checking the visibility. A couple of you don't have dark vision. The area is dimly lit, but a woman who is going to be placed on the map momentarily. She comes in. She is carrying a. She's carrying a stone that emits a light spell. Now that's going to light up this whole area. For those of you, you've essentially answered one way or another some form of missive. Again, I'm going to let you write your background because I don't want to take away your agency. And you've answered some form of missive where you find yourselves coming to the House of Knowledge for a job. I'm not a big fan of this picture, but I don't like just a P, so we're going to stick this picture on here. I will change it between now and next game. So you guys will, my token didn't load completely, so we will just endure as best we can. Did I close my map? Right. So a priestess is going to enter the room. She is holding a light spell. This light spell is bright enough for the entire party to see the area. And you notice as you're moving through here, you find that most of the priests, the area is lit pretty good. The windows are pretty big. It's daylight, but the majority of them carry their own light sources. So as you guys kind of get yourselves situated here, the priestess walks in. She makes sure everybody's comfortable. Everybody has a drink. The tokens are not snapped to the grid, so you can move them freely.
All right, cool.
That's easier for chairs and stuff. She introduces herself. She says, "Hello, I am Sister Vanessa. I'm a priestess of Agma and one of the chief librarians here at the House of Knowledge." Thank you all for answering. Before we begin speaking, we must all come to an understanding that this information is sensitive and cannot be shared outside. She looks around to each of you individually for your assent.
Wayward is probably like down to 3 drinks at this point. Is probably slumped back in his chair, kind of just lazily listening. Just goes, yeah. Whatever you say, boss.
Oro nods his head. And then as his head raises upwards, 2 sets of eyelids blink.
I like it.
No, icky icky.
Okay. Who's next? I'm gonna give you guys a chance to kind of introduce your character and explain your answer to Sister Vanessa's question.
Ambrose nods and says, "You have my word. I won't leave this room."
Yeah, Jack just sort of like leans in the back of his chair, like one leg kind of just splayed over an arm of the chair. Be like, yeah, sure, whatever you say, Toots. And then he just kind of like snaps him and is like, as if it was like, realizing, oh wait, he's addressing a member of the clergy. Maybe he should be a bit more respectful. And like hastily corrects himself. Sister, ma'am.
A somewhat short human kind of pipes up. She's got braided hair tucked into the back into a bun, and she just looks at the sister and goes, "Of course."
And Al-Anon sitting in the chair there. Um, maybe you guys thought to this point that he's a fancy motherfucker because he's dressed pretty nicely and he's got a pipe and he's smoking something pretty nice. But like a solid 30 seconds or more would go by. If it's clear everyone's kind of taking a turn, Al-Anon would miss that cue. He looks like he's deep in thought, and he is. He's deep in thought. Just probably not about what you guys are talking about. And he takes a kind of like another pull from his pipe, and then when he finally clues in that like people are looking at him, he'll just kind of go, "I don't disagree with any of that. Yeah, whatever it was, I agree. Let's say."
So she takes each of your acceptance in stride and she says, "What I'm about to tell you, as I said, has to be kept secret. I would like to give you a small amount of background, and then we can begin discussing the actual job I wish to hire you from. So you understand, the House of Knowledge is not a small organization here in the city. Not that you intend to, I simply wish to make clear that betrayal of the House of Knowledge is unwise. With that having been said, we will not dwell because it is not a threat. I simply wish for you to understand who and what we are. So we are clear. You are operating on our behalf, but we cannot confirm what you are operating for. If anyone asks, we will simply say you're operating on our behalf to gather information. So we understand.
Understood.
She
Eh,
says,
but-
"Go ahead."
I was just saying, Jack just like pipes out, stab you guys in the back, get knife in the gut in return. Got it. Throws a thumbs up.
He says, "Some background. A member of our uh, research team. Her name is well regarded. She is known as Dr. Donnell. She is a well respected archaeologist. She specializes more recently in archaeology in and around the sealed chasm of Neverwinter. Upon a dig over the last year sanctioned by Lord Neverember, she recovered an artifact, a green artifact. It is important that you know that expeditions are not cheap. The House of Knowledge is not dedicated to research outside of our walls. So, for funding, very often our research teams are funded by wealthy donors. The conditions are often that they recover things of value or of note, and thus are beholden to them. This particular expedition was funded by a museum, specifically the Neverwinter Museum of Curiosities. Recovering this green stone, Dr. Darnell was obligated to turn it over to the museum for display. After doing so, Dr. Donnell returned here to conduct research, and she began panicking, explaining to me that the artifact was indeed not a stone but an egg. She feared it would hatch and release something evil. Unfortunately, she had no proof. Lord Neverember does not allow baseless claims to govern as he should not, in hopes of gathering information to take to Lord Neverember. We dispatched one of our investigators, known as Metrius. He was dispatched to the museum in hopes of, with our goodwill, gaining access to the artifact to conduct some safety investigations, as we are entitled to. To the best of our understanding, he was able to gain access and conduct his investigations. The museum informed us that he. What's that?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, there's probably an echo. It says the museum informed us that he was allowed access and then he departed, except he never returned. He was seen entering the museum, but not exiting the museum. The museum is not known to, nor would be unlikely to exterminate, kill, or kidnap a representative of the House of Knowledge. Therefore, I must take one of two paths. I must acquiesce to the museum and the law as it is on their side. Or I must take a more secretive path. She pulls a gem from her pocket. It is a small gem. Everyone here recognizes immediately it is a spell gem. And she says, what I would like you to do is activate, gain access some way, shape, or fashion to the gem, the green stone, and activate this spell gem within 20 feet of it. What it will do is create a small, harmless, illusory, pyrotechnic display. And as such, will allow you to conduct or cast a detect magic spell. That is how I would handle it. I need the results of that spell. She pulls another gem out, and she says this will cast the detect magic spell and record the results in the gem. Regardless of whether or not you use the pyrotechnic display to cause a distraction or whatever it is you think you need to do, your mission is to activate this detect magic gem within 20 feet, record the results automatically, and return the gem to me. She stops talking.
Yeah, Jack.
That is incorrect.
Oh, all right.
Matrius.
Do
Yeah.
you want to? Were you talking, Tanner? Did you want to summarize, or would you like me to?
No, I was just correcting the rabbits. Matrius that went in.
Oh,
Correct.
Matrix.
Types up through mid snoring.
Dr. Donnell is a archaeologist who found it. She found the gem. She turned it over to the museum as the funder. She then believed it was an egg. She didn't have proof. Therefore, Sister Vanessa dispatched Matrius to investigate the gem, but he never returned. The problem is they're not going to let the House of Knowledge continue to send representatives over and over and over and over and over. The goodwill only goes so far. You only can conduct so many safety investigations on the same thing. The city has laws, it has regulations. You're imposing on the museum. What she wants you to do is take the detect magic spell gem, activate it within 20 feet of the green artifact. If you want to use the second gem she's giving you to cause a pyrotechnic distraction, she's providing it to you because that's how she would resolve it. Either
Right.
way, the mission is to activate the detect magic gem within 20 feet of the greenstone artifact. She has more to say, but she wants to make sure everyone understands the mission. She
Yeah.
doesn't care how you do it.
That was why I was asking. I just wanted to make sure I had this correctly, so I was following along. So
Does Oro says, does anyone know what happened to Dr. Donnell?
Dr. Donnell, she gives a sigh. She says, we do. Unfortunately, in her research, she became convinced that she was right. And so after the disappearance of Matrius, despite us asking her patience, she was arrested breaking into the museum attempting to steal the artifact. She was taken to the Hall of Justice, where she awaits trial. A detect magic recorded gem showing this is not a bauble, but a magical artifact, possibly finding evidence that to back up her claim would show her actions as one defending the people, not betraying them. But without it, she is simply breaking into a museum to steal a valuable artifact that she handed over willing.
And I know you said you can't find that Mestro guy, but well, where is he? Or what do you think happened to him? I guess.
They don't know. They know we entered the museum. The museum says they gave him access to the artifact. They have no reason to doubt it because the museum is it's an organization in the city in good standing. They don't operate in bad faith. They don't employ murderers, assassins, and thieves. They don't
So
need to.
is this mouse stress guy like the type of guy who maybe gets his hand on some good some good pipe weed and then kind of maybe goes away for a couple weeks at a time on a journey and then returns?
She
Or
shakes her head and furrows her brow before you even finish. She says, "No, he lives here. He was born in the city at its darkest days. He took refuge here from the streets and would prefer to be here. He didn't even want to accept the mission."
so someone got him, is what you're thinking.
She shrugs and she says, "I do not believe in supposition without evidence."
Oh, I love supposition without evidence. But okay. So someone's gonna try and get us. Like if we do what you're asking, we're gonna end up like Mestros, perhaps.
I cannot promise that you won't.
Cool. What about you? What do you think about all this? And he'll point at Ambrose.
Hmm.
Mm.
Seems weird that he would disappear like that. Do you know how hard it will be to access this stone?
Again, or how hard was it for Matrius?
Uh, for us.
Well, easy, but also hard. She
Sounds like
kind
it's
of
pretty hard for that doctor to know.
she pulls out a pouch, and out of the pouch she pulls 6 coins. She says, "The museum funds these expeditions because the museum is able to show these things off. The museum is holding a gala to display the gem to its donors who provide the money for the museum to donate and fund these expeditions. To say this is what your money was used for. Isn't it a great thing? Please give us more money." The gala is in a day and a half. Not tonight. It's roughly midday. But she says tomorrow evening. These will get you into the gala. Once you're inside, the stone will be there. So to gain access to the stone, the answer is easy. If you are caught casting spells, even from spell gems, within the museum, you will be arrested. So hence the hard part.
There's going to be booze at this party.
He says, "I do not know, but I only assume so."
I'm in.
We find out well, I guess we won't know what we find out from the egg. But if it's like just like a creature, like an animal, what are you gonna do about it?
It depends on the information that you gain with the gem. I cannot plan how to counter, contain, dispel, reinforce if I do not know what spells I'm dealing with. You cannot. Magic is nuanced and complex. I must know what is holding it, what it is, and what magic makes it up before I can take action against it, lest I make it much, much worse.
Or
But
a
what?
knot to his head.
But if you're thinking it's gonna hatch, it'll be like a newborn. Who's to say it's gonna be bad or evil?
Dr. Donnell, the expert.
So she's got some idea that the only thing that could be born from this egg is bad?
She believes so. I do not have the knowledge to refute her, but I do not have her in the presence to answer your question.
But also, your detect magic spell couldn't tell if it's going to be good or bad, right?
Your mission is not to decide the fate of the egg, but to simply assess it so that it can be reported via the gym for us to make that determination. Though I do understand the value of moralistic, philosophical questions, unfortunately, or fortunately, that task is not what I am hiring you for. Simply information gathering, in which you will agree is the foundation of all philosophical discussion. Information.
True. But a squirrel can't hide his nuts unless he has some.
She nods her head slightly, either in deference or unwillingness to continue.
I have a question regarding this um, event that the museum is hosting for the artifact. How are we going to fit in?
She says, I have a number of, uh, shall we say, garments that you can pick from.
Oral not
The,
says that again. I've been to a few of these before, and I didn't bring the necessary attire.
she says, you will not be asked to pretend to be someone you are not. We are given representatives to attend, as we are also a donor of the museum. You will be going as our representatives, which is an accurate statement. Therefore, you will be provided robes of the House of Knowledge. You will not be expected to pretend to be anybody. You will simply be our representatives. You are who you are. You need not pretend.
Very good.
You look around at anyone else for questions?
Rhiannon, what do you think? You've been just sitting there, you know? What are you thinking about all this?
I have lots to think about, much of which I'll speak with Saloon on it. And I have ideas of how to access it, anyways. But I don't know if it'll work. So I don't know if we should try it.
She says, I will leave that to you. The gala may or may not give you the access you need. I am a researcher. I need the gem after you cast it within 20 feet. That is all I need. She sets the gem on the couch between Rhiannon and Ambrose. So not so they have to take it, but between them, the couch is a big 3-person couch. And she sets the pyrotechnic display distraction that she thinks is a good idea next to it. She says, as for payment, I can pay you 25 gold coins each and a single bag of holding. If you are able to determine the fate of Matrius, I will pay you another 25 gold each. the bag of holding is yours, as is the first 25 gold coins each, if you return the spell, regardless of what you do or don't do with Matrius.
That sounds pretty good to me.
Wow. Okay.
I think that sounds fair.
She kind of goes person by person, and out of curiosity, out of character, top left, what do you guys see in terms of order? Mine is alphabetical.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, good
Yep.
for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, that's mostly what I was curious of. So she, just for simplicity, so everybody isn't wondering who's next, I'm going to follow that order. So she starts with, pronounce that name for me again, please, sir.
Alanon?
Alanon. She starts with you, seeing if you are willing to accept the mission and if you have any follow-up questions before she departs.
I accept too.
And she moves to Ambrose.
I accept. I do have one quick question. Do you know anything about the security of the museum?
She shakes her head and says she does not, but it is not something that is um, well hidden. If you spend some time asking around town, she does not doubt that you can learn quite a bit about the museum. She simply doesn't know. If she had more
Peanuts.
time, she would have dispatched agents to gather information, but she doesn't have time, and so she hired you, basically. And she moves down the line. I'm gonna take me a bit to get used to the names. Eddie,
Oro?
Oro. It sounded like you wanted to say something real quick, Ambrose.
No.
Okay, Oro. She looks to you.
No questions, and I accept the mission.
All right. She looks to Rhiannon.
Of course. I'll do anything to help anybody who needs help.
Real quick. I am creating a new uh, creature there. That way, I wanted to take that spiraling your turn marker off Ambrose. So there we go. Scrappy Jack.
Yeah, he just throws it with another thumbs up and says, "Hey, so long as we get paid." Uh,
And you're gonna have to pronounce that one for me as well.
Wayrin?
Wayrin and
Yep.
Oro. Got the and Alanon. Okay, those three are gonna be the ones I screw up a lot. I'll do my best.
Yeah, you can just call him Ren. It's
All right.
easier. Yep, I agree. You had me at the possibility of free booze. But one question. Do the robes come sleeveless?
They do not, and I would recommend you do not remove the sleeves, as you will be interacting with what is considered Neverwinter High Society.
Damn. Alright. That's fine.
Is this a armor free event?
And she says, I would recommend you not be armed or armored. With uh, um, think of it this way: you will be with a number of nobles and rich patrons guarded by their own bodyguards who will not be allowed in the room and guarded by the museum staff. They are unlikely to allow weapons. If you need a safe place to have your gear housed, as you are of the adventurous type, we can secure it here at the House of Knowledge. We are a Church of Ogma, and we have many people to keep it safe.
And Jack just slaps a curled fist in the hand and be like, "Yeah, don't need to worry about that on my front. I don't need a weapon to cause damage."
That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Okay. Mm, Al-Anon will kind of like just put his club that dangles from his belt and his shield just kind of like beside his chair and say, "If you could just hold that for me, I guess."
Well, the gala's not till tomorrow night, but they will.
Well, I mean, you could still. Well, I'll hold it then. Okay. All right. Okay.
All right. So with that, she departs the meeting room, leaving you guys to converse amongst yourselves if you so desire. Now, for game purposes, unlikely that you guys are going to want to dive to the gala, I'd imagine. Some of you have money, some of you probably have some things you want to sell. Maybe none of you do. If you guys aren't in a huge hurry, um, the rest of the game is for you to discuss things as well as um, explore the city there and buy stuff because you obviously just have your starting equipment. That was my assumption. Doesn't have to be it, but we'll start with discussing things. And there are a number of taverns, places to sleep. The first night, which is the night you're going to be spending tonight, everything before the gala, you're not going to have to pay for food, room, and board. But if you wish to go gather information, get drunk, check the weapon shops, I have a list of shops and things like that that I think uh, that I have together in the city. So all of those things are optional to you, but I think starting with the discussion on the understanding that some of you may modify your backgrounds to know each other or not. So I'm going to push my mic up and let you guys plan as you wish.
Hey, Tony. There was one thing that I didn't get to put on my character sheet, and I just remembered it. I couldn't find an arcane focus in the
So
item thing.
yeah, there's a couple different ways you can do it, but I will find the generic arcane focus and toss it on there. I don't even know.
Like I typed in arcane and
Mhm.
like nothing comes up.
That's fair. Let me see if I can find it while you guys talk.
Like arcane dust. Something comes up under like monster loot, candlekeep mysteries, and monster loot curse of Strahd.
I'll take a look, see what I can find while you guys do your thing.
Okay.
Get you
So
guys started. I think one of you said they had an idea of what to do.
Oh,
I think it started with an R and ended in a Rhiannon.
That's true.
Yep.
Everyone stare at her.
Oro stares at her and blinks a double set of eyelids.
Waren's leaning back with his eyes closed.
Rhiannon's like pulling at her lip and like just like searching the ground, like staring everywhere, but not at you guys, and like rapidly thinking.
she's a deep thinker, I can tell. Okay, I gotta fucking ask while she's thinking about it.
No, he
Oh,
only has he
oh,
has a normal set of eyes. You know.
Well, I don't know
Yeah,
about
that's
that.
the bottom of
What's
the
what's
apes.
going
The
on
top
there?
is the.
Yeah, I was gonna say Ambrose has been not so apparently trying to be subtle, but has been staring at Oro the entire time, pretty much. He's bad at hiding it, though.
He only has 2 eyes.
Hmm. But does he
Oh.
look
Oro.
like Does he look like quite like the picture? Does he look a little bit different?
No, he looks like the picture.
Yeah, no. Ambrose has been staring at him basically since he walked into the room.
Hey,
I'm kind of high, but it feels like every time you blink, Oro, like something happens. Like what's going on there?
Real quick, arcane focus is a category. Those are the 5 typical arcane focuses. That's why you couldn't find them.
oh,
You can pick one and make up a generic one of your own. It doesn't really matter what it is.
that's the full-sized picture of Oro.
Hey man, if you don't want to talk about your eyes, it's cool. It's cool, you know.
What do you mean?
Well, I was curious. Fuck, I'm pretty. Like I said, I'm pretty high. I might have missed. I might have not actually said this out loud, but you blink weird, like or I feel like you blink weird. Do you blink weird?
Not for me.
Fuck, that's right. Okay. You blink different than me. I blink weird. You blink normal. But what's how do you blink it?
The same way you blink. My eyelids closed.
I respect that. I respect that. Okay.
Like, how would you even answer that question in real life? How you blinking, bitch? Bitch, how you blinking?
How the fuck you doing that?
Usually one at a time, you know?
That's the most Tyler answer I've fucking heard.
One at a time, just like everybody else.
Yeah, you plebs.
So we got a girl with crazy eyes looking all over the place. Deep thinker. We got a guy blinks totally normal over there. We got this guy over here, and he points at Ren sitting in the chair. He doesn't even open his eyes.
If it helps, Ambrose's eyes glow softly, I believe.
Oh fuck!
Yeah,
What's going on with your eyes?
I was born this way.
That's cool.
So was Lady Gaga. I like the descriptions. Can you imagine being announced at the gala? And this is Oro. He blinks totally normal.
Nothing is fucking weird about it. Don't ask
And
any questions.
okay, so you
I mean, you
got a
guys aren't
nice.
even talking about the scales on his face. Like,
The scales are cool. You need to straighten out that blink problem you got though.
I was gonna go from
Right.
the eyes to the scales, but you got pretty defensive, so I thought I'd move on.
I
Um,
wasn't getting defensive. I was just being matter of fact.
Yeah, he
and
wasn't being defensive.
I don't want to come off as any more offensive than I might already have been. But does anybody else see the fucking rabbit in the corner of the room? Like the talking rabbit.
I
What
was
rabbit?
also kind of fucking wondering about that. Like, when the fuck did rabbits start talking?
What rabbit?
He's talking about me, Mac. You ain't heard no. You ain't.
What
Surprised.
rabbit?
Surprised you ain't even heard the legend of Scrappy Jack yet. It's all right. Everyone will know my name eventually.
There's a rabbit? Or
Motherfucker's
looked
blinking
around.
too much.
There's just like a giant orb between Oro and Scrappy Jack, so he hasn't seen him yet.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Listen,
Just
when I
standing
smoke
in.
enough of this, when I smoke enough of this stuff, I can commune with the spirits and whatnot, you know? So, Mr. Rabbit, Scrappy Jack, are you a spirit or are you just a big talking rabbit?
If it helps, I can see him too.
Yeah, but you've been sitting close to me. You might be getting like a contact eye.
Uh, he comes up and kind of thwacks you in the arm and says, That feel spiritual enough for you there, Mac?
I have no fucking idea.
Who's
But
Matt?
you seem nice.
Say that's my name for everyone. Call everyone Mac. Unless they're a girl, then I call them Toots. Huh?
I guess it's like a rabbit thing or a spirit thing.
Or a spirit rabbit thing.
Say, I'm gonna need some spirits when I get to the tavern. Said, good old shot of brand and a whiskey. Maybe good old scrap.
Somewhere
Well,
in this massive library is a priestess who seriously thinks there are strategic conversations taking place.
Yeah.
right. You should be right. Well, I'll. My name's Alan. On in case you didn't catch that, I'm What was I saying? Wait, no. I am a wizard. You know, I can talk to animals sometimes, and I can commune with nature and stuff, and yeah, like, I
Well, you're
can
doing a
connect.
great job.
I can connect to the forces that link us all together in the meaningful ways that matter. What do you guys do?
I'm just a heron guy here, Mac. You don't need speak animals to communicate with me.
So he just said that he's a heron god, and wait, can you guys understand that?
I would certainly hope.
No,
You're
no,
translating from comment to comment.
I know that I can understand you, Scrappy, but Rhiannon, do you understand the heron god?
Yes.
Cool, 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 cool. I'll stop translating. My bad. Fuck, everyone got really quiet. What's going on?
Oh, sorry. I was waiting for someone to go next.
Jack is just looking for everyone and just silently questioning his decision to join in this card.
I'm
I
Oro.
thought if we talk about like who we are and our what we're good at, that might help make a strategy. I don't know.
Right, well, I guess I'll go ahead and I'll explain a little bit. Yeah, so I might not look like it, but I'm a fighter. So I grew up in the streets. You know, I'm a rabbit folk, I'm a
Sort of the
scoundrel, I'm
streets.
all around menace to polite society, but don't let the fluff ears fool you. I'm quicker than a hiccup, I'm tougher than a look, and I'm more than happy to punch a man twice my size right into the jewels. So, am I a loudmouth? Absolutely. Am I a trouble magnet? Yeah, definitely. But yeah, when the chips are down, there's no one you'd rather have fighting in your corner or biting ankles in your honor. Just don't ask where I learned to fight. Shorter reach just means quicker jabs, Mac. It's where I grew up being small, getting stepped on unless you learned to bite back. And me, I learned fast. So, I hit first, talk second, and I look out for the little guy like it's personal, because frankly, it freaking is for me. Anyway, enough about me.
Interesting. Oro cant his head to the side a little bit and uh, says, "I'm Oro. I'm I'm Yonti. I haven't tried to unhinge my jaw." But he'll look towards Scrappy Jack. Um,
A hell of a thing if you could there, Mac. No.
but I hear that snakes really enjoy rabbit.
That's supposed to be a threat there.
I'm kidding. Um, maybe, but I I am a wizard. I I hate that, Tony. I hate that so much.
What's the... It's just, I'm a snack.
Um, yeah. So I'm a wizard and an archaeologist.
Well, I guess I'm next. We're doing this. Well, first off, my name's Warren, but you can call me Ren. A little bit easier for you guys. I'm not a hair be gone, but I am an elf.
Look pretty angry to me there, Mac.
I do got my beard, yeah. I'm probably older than all of you combined. And I like to hit shit with my fists and drink a lot.
You sound like my kind of guy. I like this guy.
Ain't so bad, Rabbit. I'm sure we'll get along. Next.
Rhiannon is still like deeply in her own mind, like thinking about all of these different options.
Ambrose sees this and decides it's his turn. My name is Ambrose Voss. I am, or I suppose was, a knight in the Order of the Companion. Um, that order does not exist anymore, but I still do. I'm a paladin. I worship Torm. I don't know what else there is to say. He goes
Is that
back to staring
everybody?
at Oro.
Oops. That's supposed to be an emote, not an out of character thing. Yeah.
I think we're out of booze. Is there any more around here? While the girlie's
Alrighty.
thinking of
I think that's
stuff.
everybody. So at this point, you guys have two choices. You guys can explore the city, which is rather large. Um, there's a recommended way of doing that, or you can discuss your plans about the gala. For the gala, your clothes will be provided, the coins will be provided, which will get you entrance. With those, you're going to get access to it. The gala's in the museum. That is also um, presumably the stone's going to be on display, as its whole purpose is to display the stone to donors, of which you represent. Presumably, it's going to be packed or at least well populated. So you can discuss that, but again, you don't know what it's going to be like, so it's limited. I'll leave that up to you guys, whether you want to explore the city, wait till next time to discuss plans, or discuss plans, wait till next time. Gathering information about the museum is something you can do, but it will take time, as in each check has a certain number of hours that it will take to attempt. In terms of exploring the city, my recommendation, due to the size, this is the first game. Tell me what you're looking for, and I will tell you the most likely place to find it.
Pipe weed ingredients.
Well, I'm not 100% sure on that one. You fucked me up there.
My bad.
No, the answer is for if you're actually looking for pipeweed ingredients with sincerity, those can be found. And this is general information you can get by just asking, or if you're from the city, you would know it. So it's not something. There is a shop known as Priscilla's Perfumes and Potables. She's an alchemist. and she sells potions as well as alchemical substances and natural remedies such as pipeweed.
Okay. Okay. I don't need, like, I got a supply right now, but I would need to hit them up at some point.
Seems as good a time as any to send this. This is um, something that is going to. I've been making these as well as, well, I've been editing these. I didn't make them from scratch. I've been editing these for each of the main shops. Obviously, the city has more than one person who's selling a potion, obviously. But for streamlined simplicity, there's going to be typically 1 to 2 stores for each primary thing you're looking for. For example, I was able to get this whipped up
Oh, that's pretty cool.
because you're going to be operating in and out of this city for a long time. These are going to be I can edit these in Photoshop, things like that. That's how I created them and edited them and put them together. Not everything she has is on the list, but that's kind of general. You don't need to keep those open. You can close them. They are available on your images banner to the right, and it is listed as Priscilla's perfume and potables menu. All the menus will end in menu. Okay. What would you guys like to do? Would you guys like to discuss or go your separate ways or into small groups about the city? Does anybody have anything they need to buy or sell? How about that? Let's start there.
Nope. Can't afford anything I want, and don't really want to sell anything.
Yeah, I don't really
Okay.
have anything in particular that I particularly want. Anyway, I mean, check here something. Wouldn't exactly think boots of speed would probably fit a bunch of rabbit feet anyway, unless they were custom fit.
Actually, magic items fit to the user. If you take a pair of boots of speed off of a gnome and attempt to put them on a giant, they will fit. It's directly from the Dungeon Master's Guide. Magic items will reshape themselves to fit the user so long as the user has the standard, generic, or similar anatomy. Feet for feet, you can't put boots of speed on Beholder, for example,
Well, that would, stand to reason.
but the size of the foot will not preclude the user from using a magic item.
All right.
I would like to
Non-magic
know why.
boots.
I would like to know why the giant eyeball is not allowed to wear boots.
Because it's just the way it is.
It would become too powerful.
Yep.
Mhm.
You know what? That's fair. That's fair.
You know what? I want you to know that I wrote that down. In the future, when you encounter a beholder, he'll be wearing boots of speed.
Oh no.
Excellent.
The last
Excellent.
beholder was so hard to kill.
Shit.
How
Yeah,
is
but then when we
Ambrose?
kill that one, it'll be like all the other ones are gonna be so easy.
Yeah, watch out, Sanathar, we're coming.
Jesus Christ.
Alrighty. So if nobody has anything to sell, would anyone? I mean, does anybody have any statements? And just to kind of, obviously, you guys are still trying to get to know each other. You're feeling out your characters. I just don't want you guys just having to sit in silence and having to want somebody step up. So I'm going to kind of guide the conversation to the party gets its dynamic going. um, for that purpose, you know you're going to attend the gala. it is presumed that all 6 of you are attending. Does anybody disagree with that presumption?
Mm,
Nope.
On that assumption that all 6 of you are attending, then does anybody have anything they would like to state as a intended goals? Obviously, you have missions, but in intended goals, because even if you go in and it's like sitting on its own in a big empty room, you can use the gym and get out. That's going to be easy. On the presumption that it's not, you may need to have other goals.
So the other
Anything
one of the gyms is like a pyrotechnics one, right?
correct? One-time use.
I can try and provide the distraction.
If I smoke this pipe enough, I can make a lot of smoke. And so I'm picturing a scenario, hear me out here,
I
where
don't think it's gonna work.
well, hold on a second here.
No,
So
it's
somebody
not gonna work.
fires off the fireworks or whatever these things are, right? Like the pew, 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 big distraction. While that happens, I puff this pipe pretty hard and cover the area that we need to be getting close to in smoke, right? Which anyone who sees this is gonna automatically think, "Oh shit, there's a fire from the pyrotechnics," right? In that rush, one of you rush in, like with like a glass of water or something, trying to put out the fire, but you actually have the stone in a glass of water, and then bibbity bobbity boop, you do the thing. In the smoke, nobody sees it. You come running out, say, "I used all my water. I gotta get more," and you run.
Someone roll a intelligence investigation check, please. DC 1.
Investigation, you said?
I assume I can't roll that.
Everyone? Okay.
Yeah, that's not going to work. That pipe's not going to produce that much smoke.
I told you it's not gonna fucking work.
Okay, so to be clear, I'm a wizard. I can make this happen. I'm telling you, I can make this happen.
So
Wait, who?
I'm
Which
not
one?
saying I'm not saying your plan won't work. I'm saying the pipe won't produce the level of smoke you are claiming it will, and everyone knows that. Now, magic, that's a different thing. But you
It's a
didn't say
magical pipe.
magic.
It's a magical pipe. It's a magical pipe.
Okay.
Wait, I thought that guy said he was a fucking wizard. You're saying you're a wizard too?
I think we're both wizards. He's the kind of wizard who does snake things, from what he told us. I'm the kind of wizard who does.
Is he a wizard that does snake things, or is he snaky wizard?
That's unclear. We'll figure it out.
This is out of character, but he's a lizard wizard.
The king
That's
gizzard.
anatomically correct. Yeah.
Lizard wizard is fucking killing me for some reason.
I can use magic. I can use magic to make a. If you don't like the word smoke, we call it like a fog cloud. You know. So like it's combine that with pyrotechnics, it might be enough to throw people off. Maybe we even need someone to yell like "fire, fire" or something, and that might be more than enough distraction that somebody can get close enough to do something.
If I can do
Just
it
for
from the bar, sure. Go ahead.
just for clarity, um, Neverwinter is a city that is not unfamiliar with magic. Usually, using magic is not something that goes unnoticed. That doesn't mean you can't, but without something like subtle spell, it is definitely something you're going to need to be very aware of who's around you. Not the least of which is that fog cloud has verbal and somatic components.
Yep. I'm hoping that the pyrotechnics is enough of a draw, and I can be like either in another room or whatever. We'll see what the layout is. But even so these stones, they would have a command word too, I assume.
They do, and she provides it. No,
So
it's
even
not
that,
something.
we might have to kind of disguise how we set off the pyrotechnics.
Correct. If you go in there and use that gem, you can be arrested. I mean, think of it this way. Think of it like this. Imagine you attended the Met Gala and started letting off fireworks in the middle of it.
Yep, it'd be a problem, you'd think, yeah.
And then we turned on a fog machine.
And then you turned on a fog machine, loudly, verbally screaming about it and waving your hands.
Of course, all that being said, you have to admit, if all that's happening, no one's gonna notice if you did a quick fucking took a picture or something. Everything else is way too distracting.
You're not wrong, but you also might be visiting some of the Hall of Justice soon. One of you will be.
Yeah, who's our fall guy?
That's the question.
The rabbit.
Got it.
Shit.
I mean, I did say I was the natural troublemaker. If you need a barb roll, I'm your guy.
I would also say, the ultimate move would be if someone can just walk right up to the thing and just use the detect magic, and then we're good. As in, nobody sees it. I'm just assuming there's gonna be a guard. There's gonna be somebody keeping an eye on this thing.
I am also a little guy. I could probably sneak in undetected. Probably. Emphasis on the probably.
Okay, so that is a solid goal. It's an option. Pyrotechnics, fog cloud, fog guy goes to jail. Probably the guy suggesting the fog cloud spell would have to cast the fog cloud spell. Let's
Except
let's
nobody has fog cloud.
What do you mean?
Who has fog cloud?
I do. Well, more like a smoke cloud, but yeah.
Actually, the spell?
Um, I cast fog cloud in the room, so I just puff on my pipe a whole bunch, and then just pop a fog cloud on us. So the pipe is like my arcane focus. Yeah. So is that fog
and
cloud?
that is fog cloud. And some of the librarian acolytes come over and they're like, please stop doing that.
Oh, can you not smoke in here? Sorry.
It's the verbal component, blaze it.
The verbal component would be in Sylvan. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if how you feel
That is
about
one of your 2 first level spell slots.
Hey,
Hell yeah, brother.
the wizard challenged me to a wizard duel, so
No, he didn't.
now I want to see you cast something snaky.
Do you?
I
Yes.
do actually. Yeah, I'm not joking.
This is spiraling the drain.
Ambrose leans forward expectantly. Let's see what you can do.
Maybe we should go outside though, if it's gonna be smoky.
It's not going to be smoky, but it's going to be very, very
It's gonna be snaky.
poisony.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you can show us later then.
That's the problem for later, Alan.
Well, I can kind of go unseen if needed sometimes, but that can be the first thing I do is just try to see how fucking close I can get to it. If it's pretty well guarded, then I'm not too keen on my ability to be sneaking around. I ain't no fucking thief. But then we can go with the distraction plan.
All right, let's assume the casting of the spells around there isn't ideal. Backup plan. Not fully detailed, but what say you can't use the fucking gem when you're there.
Yep.
Just because hypothetically casting fog cloud gets you arrested and thrown into the Hall of Justice. Hypothetically. With that, hypothetical stipulated. Backup plan. What do you think?
Smash and grab. No, I'm kidding.
Smash and grab if you're fast.
Ambrose wouldn't suggest it. That's the only problem. He's not some kind of criminal.
I'm pretty fucking quick. But
Like, would it be nuts if we just asked if we could just like cast detect magic on him? Like just out of pure curiosity, which is not untrue.
I mean, it's possible. You could roll up in the Louvre, ask if you could touch the Mona Lisa. You can always ask.
We're not asking to touch it though.
But in a world of magic that is typically considered in some way like interacting, if you're casting spells,
It's invasive, I guess.
you're violating it.
I mean, and also bear in mind that like the Museum of Curiosities is probably not a huge fan of magic that uncuriosities things.
I suppose the other like maybe we go after the gala, so we'd go to the gala, kind of scope the place out, and then after the gala, when everyone's gone, we try and sneak back in.
No, it's gonna be harder.
I get it would be harder to get back literally in, but obviously in terms of casting the spell, like if no one's around, that's ideal, right?
This is true, but I don't think we're gonna be able to get back in.
Mm.
We could always have somebody outside create a distraction.
What if one of us never left?
Now there's a plan.
Like we all just try and hide inside
Maybe
the
not all
gala?
of us.
Okay.
Ambrose looks over at Rihanna. What was your idea anyway?
Oh, well, initially, I considered walking over to it and pretending to admire it, and then dropping the stone that makes the flash, and then using the spell stone. Um, and then I figured that that might have been too obvious. So then I was also considering maybe throwing or having somebody across the room drop the flash stone, and then somebody else is across the room at the gem, and then they cast the spell. But then if somebody else is looking and not distracted, then that's a problem. And then I was also thinking about sneaking in, but then we ruled out that that's um, probably not the best idea. So I don't have anything yet.
I would say you got a lot. You just said a lot of words.
It's true, but nothing of value.
Hey, everything everyone always says is of value.
That's
I don't
debatable
100%
there,
agree
Jack.
with that.
Where's the disagree button?
I like that.
Extremely loud, incorrect buzzer.
There's a thumbs down.
Holy moly. Are any of you from this city?
I've been in and out of it over the years.
First time.
Yep, me too. First time.
I'm
Do you
from
know if we could
nowhere near
find
here.
anything here that is like the distraction spell gem, but perhaps non-magical in nature? Are firecrackers a thing in 5e? I actually don't.
Smoke powder, things like that. I don't know
Yeah.
the exact term, but yes, they
Mhm.
are. Actually, that would still fall under that exact same shop. The potables, perfumes. She's an alchemist, that type of thing.
Because we don't necessarily need to use the magic item to cause a distraction.
It's true.
It could be easier to set something off more discreetly.
Let's
Well,
say
I got a bag of ball bearings I could just drop on the floor and just watch a bunch of people fall on the ground.
That would be hilarious.
I mean,
Not a bad
we could
getaway
also
plan.
set a fire. No, I feel like setting a fire is probably just not the best thing to do.
I feel like our employer would take a dim view of that.
I'm
So,
kind of liking the ball bearing plan now. Now that I said it
so we
out
got
loud.
the Looney Tunes option. We got the smoke, sizzle, and smoke option. Scout, reconnoiter during the gala. Go back in later and steal, or not steal, but go back in and cast. And apparently a fucking arsonist. So those are, again, you guys don't have all the details. These are just options that are pre-discussed so that once you start getting more information, the party can kind of decide what to do.
Yeah.
Now, next game, we're going to start looking at what we're going to do between now, the midday, and the next day. So you'll have half of the day today and all the day tomorrow. You can go shopping. I'm not saying you need to, but you can go and gather information. Again, not saying you need to. You can look at your characters' issues. Again, you don't need to deal with room and board, anything like that, until after the gala. After the gala, that night it will be covered. But then after that, we're going to start looking at lodging and things like that. So between this game and next game, if you wish to make any changes on your character, say you decided that being a real wizard is not for you, or even a fake wizard with a pipe, like there's options that might work for you, that you want to change it a little bit. If you want to intertwine your backstories or not intertwine your backstories, but as I said, your backstory should end with you in Neverwinter. If you want to go super detailed, in Neverwinter, somehow finding that this job was being advertised. This is where you're all starting. So
Awesome.
next game, we will pick back up here with the party having discussed 4 ideas of varying quality and how to prepare for the gala, attend the gala, either at the end of next game or the game after that. And then with that gala, information will become a lot more prevalent, and then planning will be more fact based and less hypothetical based. Does anybody have any questions for me in regard to the city monologue? Anything in the city, like that? Anything like that?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Everything you said in the monologue, is that purely for player knowledge, or would our characters know?
Your characters would know the vast majority of that. Now, everything I told you isn't necessarily accurate.
Yeah,
I gave you what is common knowledge. That doesn't make it true.
because I just had the thought, which Alan on, if you have it or not, but the thought that like I'm trying to think of like why did obviously I forget his name, Mestro, but like why he's
Masteries.
gone missing, and we're thinking probably he's been kidnapped or something. At least that's what I'm thinking. So like if there's groups like the Grey Cloaks or the Nashers that we're aware of, the idea that maybe in the day before we go over there, try and make contact with one of these groups to see if they are at all involved with the kidnapping, right?
So I hear what you're saying, but based on the knowledge you have of these, A, the longer Lord Neverember has been making progress towards what most people consider to be the benefit of the city, the weaker the support for those groups have gotten. Meaning, when he took over 30 years ago, they were very strong. Today, having reclaimed 95, even 100% of the city and rebuilt the majority of the wall, cracked down on the guilds that were exploiting the people, taxing, he has the support of the people. So he's effectively winning the hearts and minds battle. So it's not that those groups don't exist, but if they do exist, they're much smaller, and it isn't at this point. You see no reason to believe an anti ruler of the city has any interest in dicking around with the House of Knowledge and an artifact from an expedition. Now, I'm not telling you it's not worth your time. I'm telling you what your characters know and would guess, because it's been over a decade since they did anything tremendously noteworthy. So
So
bear that.
the idea that they would just suddenly kidnap a seemingly random guy doesn't make sense. Okay.
Now, it doesn't mean they didn't, because there might be more going on that you don't know. But I mean, as far as your characters are aware of,
It doesn't seem like an obvious connection. Yeah. Okay.
correct.
Yeah. Okay.
The egg ate him.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
shit.
It's already hatched, man. Has anyone heard from the museum curators? Oh no.
We'll find out.
It's a night at the museum situation.
I was just about to say.
Where's Robin Williams when you need him?
Oh.
Oh.
Womp womp.
Too soon. Too
Too
soon.
soon. Sorry. -1 inspiration for Eddie.
-1.
Made me think about Robin Williams, and now I'm sad. Take inspiration away from him.
Just for the point, I was zooming in and around. If you're curious which graveyard is the pauper's graveyard and which one is the noble graveyard, the pauper's graveyard is the one without the mausoleums.
That does
Yeah.
make a lot of sense. Those are, and you said those are still sealed and like full of undead.
Full is it's not like a zombie apocalypse. They're climbing up the walls, but yeah, I mean, yeah,
fuller than a graveyard should be.
fuller than a graveyard should be in the middle of a goddamn city.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like
So
undead should go into a graveyard outside of a city. That's right.
it's also one of those things that it's something that the city administration regularly tries to cull. There's too many for the city to try and like wipe out. I mean, they occupy large swaths of it. So they're both. It's basically like the deer population. They're culling them. And there are actual like adventuring parties who make a living collecting the bounties, going in, wiping out 10 zombies, coming in, selling the fucking zombie heads. So
Nice.
at the moment, the goal has been to reclaim the city, rebuild the walls, provide peace, stability. It's on the list. Containment was step one, and I mean you can see the walls; it's contained as hell. But guard towers, it's it's on the list to reclaim the graveyard, but rebuild the exterior wall is current priority.
Where's the museum again?
It is.
I might have missed the ping earlier.
I didn't ping it. It's right here.
Okay then. Never mind.
Can you
Give me a sec.
reping?
Well, give me 2 seconds. I had to change the size of the grid to make the ping noticeable.
Ah.
Okay.
I see. It looks like a castle.
It is. It is. It does look like a castle. The buildings aren't necessarily 100% accurate. It's not that type of building.
We're basically just directly across the river from it too. All just
Correct.
too bad
Like
we don't have a
the
fourth bridge that connects this part of the build or this part of the city with that part.
Mhm.
And getting to it a lot easier, but
Yeah, it
If
seems real real inefficient to have 3 bridges like right next to each other.
I know. Couldn't they spread them bitches apart? Fuck.
I guess that depends on what your goal is. If your goal is control the passage, really effective.
I guess.
Hey, earlier you said the names were really elaborate. What were the names? You never said them.
They're
I'm
not
gonna
necessarily
guess.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna guess dolphin, dragon, and rabbit.
Um, that's funny. I see
Hmm.
why you say that. It's not that the bridges' names are elaborate, it's that the bridges are elaborate. They're extremely well constructed. There's statues along there. But to answer your question, yes, it is the Dolphin Bridge to the furthest to the east. The middle bridge is the Wyvern Bridge. And the one to the left is the Sleeping Dragon Bridge. The Sleeping Dragon Bridge, the Wyvern Bridge, the Winged Wyvern Bridge, as
Those are
opposed to those
definitely
wing.
rabbits for sure. So
Basically
round
2
and
out of 3.
fluffy.
They're so round and fluffy. And
I
then the
think
Dolphin
that's right.
Bridge.
I think that because wyverns are dragons,
They're not.
I got all 3.
They're not.
Rats.
It probably counts.
Yeah. See, the
Wyverns
wizard
are like a
agrees with me.
subspecies. They're like they got like the wings, but they don't like have like traditional arms, to my
Like
understanding.
you are as right as he is a wizard.
Hmm.
The abstract.
That's
Well,
what you
that,
call
which
a
I'll take is yeah, you're correct.
that's what you call a double burn.
Because I'm smoking, I get it.
So that is Priscilla's perfumes and potables over there.
Way than the freaking is. All right.
There's some real like as you explore this, I would encourage you like there's some really interesting like taverns and shit here in this place.
Oh, I'll be hitting those up.
This one's one of my favorites, the Fallen Tower. It's a tavern in Neverwinter. I didn't make this one up. This one's published. It's called the Fallen Tavern because it has in the center of it the souls of people who died in Neverwinter's past falling. They're haunting the tavern and they're just reliving their fall to the death every night. I'm gonna send you the menu. And this dick, this fucking dick's like, this is a great place to fucking build a tavern.
That's
Hell yeah,
hilarious and
brother.
kind of metal as hell.
Come watch them fucking relive their fucking morbid death. Have a drink.
Uh,
Nice, cheap beer.
I'm a big fan of air quotes around meat pie served raw upon
Yeah.
request. How ominous.
Mm-hmm.
Is that an
Yes.
oak? Yeah, it's an orc.
I was about to say the
Serving.
Special brew? No, thank you. Ooh, rhubarb pie though.
Let's see. See if there's a more uppity tavern.
The secret that he doesn't want you to know is that the rhubarb pie and the meat pie are actually the same pie.
Brown bread loaf. Can't specify brown bread. Can't just be a bread loaf.
No, it's brown.
And probably very dense.
I mean, where's the crumb? He's not letting it proof enough. Son of a bitch.
You know, some people should just be grateful they get any bread. But that is all I got for this week. I will see you guys next week.
Sounds good.
Thanks,
right.
Tony. You guys.
GG.
Good night.
Take care,
For
everyone.
any
Oh.
No, you're gonna say where did Eddie leave yet?
No, I'm still here.
Al-Anon. I'm gonna share this one. There's the inn you're gonna like.
Yeah,
I'm-
okay.
I'm already out of the game, I meant.
It's on the one that's on the floating island connected to the dog, I believe.
Correct. That is the one.
briefly ran a
I'm sending you a
campaign that was
picture.
partially in Neverwinter, so I was wondering how much of that knowledge is carrying over.
As
So far,
I'm using
100%, except for the
I'm
bridge
us-
names, which I forgot.
well, that doesn't mean they're not carrying over. It means your
Mhm.
memory failed. There's a difference.
Yeah.
As much as I can, I've stuck to canon as closely as possible.
hmm
But
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
yes, indeed, 2 platinum for a room.
Oof.
Wow.
But you get to talk to the lady in the mask. So.
Ladies,
Oh, right.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
it's 5 platinum, but appetizers, octopus
Well,
broth.
that's only if you want company of a mask.
Correct.
You just want a room, it's 2 platinum.
Right. I'm just saying. Fine bottle of wine. Well, there you go.
Maybe someday. Maybe someday. You know.
I like that it's 1 platinum for walk-in dining, and then you get to pick from the appetizer,
Mhm.
entree, and desserts. But that's all I got. I'm gonna step away, take a leak. I will be probably closing the server in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, unless someone stays in. I will leave it up until everybody's gone.
All right. Sounds good.
See you guys.
Yep.
See ya.
Later.
Good night.